Bryan Montgomery. It's hard to believe, but the new basketball season is upon us. We're here to preview the 2017-2018 Jesuit Dallas basketball season. Joining me today, the head coach for the Jesuit Dallas Rangers, Coach Hill. And looking at the 16-17 year, we didn't really get a chance that much to talk about what an amazing historic run it was for the program, being able to earn a regional semifinal berth with a team that's filled mostly with returning players that are coming back for this year. So before we fully turn our attention to the 17-18 year, your thoughts on that playoff run and what you saw out of those guys and how proud you are of that program.
It was great. I mean, it was so much fun. I mean, playoff runs are just fun. When you start playing well and it's exciting, everybody gets going, and then to get as far as we got, really after the year we had was quite an accomplishment for those kids. You know, we had a lot of ups and downs throughout the year with injuries and, you know, roster adjustments and things like that, and the kids handled all of it, and by the end of the year they were playing at their best, which is always the goal. And in terms of the returners, they got great experience, and they understood, I think how important the little things are. Like you can see how we're practicing now, a lot of the little detail-oriented stuff that helps with being successful in big games like that is carried over. And I think it all started with how tough our district was to help us get to a higher level towards the end of the year. And I think the kids have a good focus and respect for our district, and they understand the kinds of things it takes to be successful against good teams twice a week. When we get to that point, has come through this year. So I'm excited. I'm excited about the lessons they learned last year and how they're able to apply them this year.
And we think we've seen a lot of motivation from that long playoff run by this senior class, a squad that has seen a lot of success, a squad that's done a lot of great things. And you saw them this summer. They're here pretty much every day working out, getting shots in. This is a very motivated group of seniors that are heading into their final season.
Very. And they've always been that way. And this year I think having the confidence that they maintained from last year, and a lot of them did. They had good summers. They were real active. They were at open gym all the time. They like being around each other. There's a good chemistry with them. Mike, we've had a couple of injuries. Mike Jankovic has hurt a lot this fall, so he hasn't really gotten to play a whole lot with everybody quite yet. But I think his transition back into it will be pretty seamless, and I think we'll start to get a chance to see how solid we can be when we're clicking on all cylinders here pretty quick. So.
Now, looking at some of the newcomers on the team, Max Saismus was a sophomore last year. He'll be returning to varsity this year. But kind of give us some of a debut on some of the fresh faces that we can see on the varsity roster.
Well, the most noticeable probably Julius, because he's our big center, 6'7", athletic. Might be 6'8". I like to err on the side of low. So if any college recruiters are watching this, he's a big guy. But he's very, very talented. I mean, in the scrimmages, I think he was 21st, first 22. I mean, he finished around the basketball. He's playing hard. He protects the rim. He's doing really, really well. He's been a very welcomed addition. And then Chris Horton moved up. He's playing very, very solid. He was a good JV player last year, and he's been really, really solid in the roles we're asking him to do. So far this fall, and Joey Pruboy was on the team last year but didn't get to play a whole lot. Really a lot of games he didn't get to play at all, and this year he's really kind of taken that to heart, and he's really doing all the things he can try to do to make sure there's a role for him. And offensively, he's had some really, really good days. So I'm really excited about our top 8. We're still working through 9 through 12, to be honest with you, just to kind of see. We're waiting for football guys to come back. Right now we have a 9-man roster, but it's looking good. I'm really excited about the prospects. Connor Wilson's right now our 9th guy. I meant to say 10 through 12. Connor's a sophomore, a junior who was a JV Gold starting point guard as a sophomore, and defensively he's very sound. And I'm not sure how much he'll get to play this year with the guards we have that are seniors, but the guys are happy to have him, and I think he's going to help us every day in his way.
And then you mentioned those senior guards. We saw Reed Hatzman last year have a phenomenal season serving as the point guard for the Rangers. Marcus Hill, yesterday we celebrated him signing with Air Force Academy. He's on his way to play some Division I ball. And you mentioned Michael Jankovic. Can't also forget Keegan Nwosu down low on the post. And that's one big thing we saw last year was the fact that you have Mitch Prendergast, who's also a Division I player at Mercer University, but whenever he swapped out, you saw Reed Hatzman come in and kind of take the ball. And having guys like Reed and Keegan and Marcus has to have you very, very confident in, if anything else, the foundational leadership that's able to propel the team here.
Yeah, we have incredible leadership on the team. That's one of the things that I think, the chemistry, the way they look out for each other, the way they care about trying to do the right thing. It can be contagious, and I think that we have a really, really good core group of characters there. And they know what we expect. I mean, we're coaching fun stuff. We're not having to do a lot of coaching effort and correcting behavior and things like that, because they know what's expected when they come to practice. And we've had a lot of really good workouts this fall, and they're really trying to do what we're asking. And I think we're gonna have a really enjoyable year.
And now we'll talk about the district here in a moment, but let's take a quick look at what's become a very interesting and frankly exciting non-district schedule for the team. You start off on Friday at North Crowley, the Cowtown Classic against Harker Heights. You have a big Knights of Columbus matchup here in a couple of weeks, matchups with Mesquite and Plano East in between, and then, oh, by the way, just throw in the reigning 5A state champions, Mansfield Timberview, before a trip to New York City. And then capped off, of course, we forgot to mention this, over Thanksgiving week, you got invited to the Duncanville Hoop Fest, very huge, top elite tournament, and just talk about that. What do these games do to really help you prepare for that long district run?
I think they're the key. I mean, because if you don't play, like I talked about the details and playing together in chemistry, and when you play against good teams, you learn to value those things. And I think going into district to get that experience, to see why it's so important to get good at it, and to have teams that if you don't do those little things, they're going to burn you on them, I think is just vital. We always have a pretty good non-district schedule. I mean, we start out, Harker Heights is always a nightmare defensively, and Mesquite same way. We know each other's system, and so you're kind of playing a district type game right there. And then the next week we have Denton, who's got a top 20 kid on their team. They're really, really good. And then, like you said, Plano East, Knights of Columbus, Thanksgiving Day shoot. I mean, it's just and I think we're playing Lee from Alabama, who's got, I guess, an all-world guard on their team. So it's going to be a really fun non-district where you get to see, if we belong where we think we do real quick.
And then once the calendar starts to turn to December, district play begins. And last year, the district was so incredibly competitive from top to bottom. We had some fantastic matchups against J.J. Pierce, Richardson, Skyline, of course, always seems to be kind of the kings of the mountain, so to speak, to knock them off. And looking at the team the Jesuit has this year, the motivation for the guys, you got to feel definitely optimistic heading into that season, knowing this team has a really solid shot of making something special happen.
Yeah, I think so. I always think that. I mean, even when sometimes everybody agrees with you and they tell you that we're really good, and you get picked to win district and invited to the Cowtown Classic and the Thanksgiving Hoop Fest, and other years you don't get to pick to even win district. You get to pick fourth. You don't get to go to those tournaments. And I always think we have a chance to be good when we get to district, just because we always schedule well-coached, hard-working teams in the non-district. We always try really, really hard not to. And I think being blessed to be in the 6A UIL league prepares you for district. And so if you have the right group of guys, which we're lucky enough to have most of the time, we're able to be at least competitive. I'm not saying we'll always win district and all that, but I think just the expectations are a little bit different from everyone outside our group, are different this year. But I mean, as far as our approach, it's the same as it always is. We're going to try to be the best we can going into it.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck to you this season. Always an exciting time when the Rangers are set to take to the hardwood. Do not forget, Ranger fans, the season begins on Friday, November 10th as the Rangers travel to Fort Worth for the Cowtown Classic, a 7:30 p.m. tip-off against Harker Heights. And as always, be sure to keep it locked into JesuitRangers.org for all of your up-to-date Rangers info.